Evening, afternoon, morning, night, whatever it is where you may be. So I thought it was time to do another live stream here and talk about the Z9. So we've been in this for what 2 weeks and a day now, and some of the fervors kind of died down a little bit. Now the real discussions are all about when is this thing going to ship. So I don't know. I don't know of anybody that does know. However, there is the chance that this may be ship December 3rd. That was a rumor. Somebody believes that December 3rd could be the day that it actually begins shipping. Uh, Adorama and B&H have 15 December. So I don't know. I know everybody's anxious to get it in their hands, kind of like being a kid at Christmas, looking at those packages underneath the tree and not knowing when you're going to get to open them, or you're not going to get to open them until Christmas morning. That's kind of where we're at. So I know it's interesting, and everybody's really hoping that this thing will come sooner rather than later. Nikon did confirm that it would ship before the end of the year. That said, it seems that the lenses might actually ship before the end of the year, at least one, the 100 to 400. So hopefully that's the case, because I know there were probably a lot of pre-orders for that lens. More pre-orders probably for the lenses than for the camera. However, Grays of Westminster said that this has been pretty overwhelming on pre-orders, more than they had for the D850. So I said it before the announcement. I felt like that this camera was going to break the record on pre-orders and everything else. And if it does, and it looks like it will, then truly this may be another D3 moment. So hopefully we'll all get to get our hands on it soon. Not all, obviously, that isn't going to happen. Pre-orders are in, the numbers are enormous. So now we have to wait and let them ship and find out how many actually shipped. So Nikon did at least correct, or Nikkei did correct the figures. Maybe 40,000 pre-orders, and they're producing 3,500 units a month. And hopefully they've gotten through 2 cycles of production. So there may be 7,000 camera bodies already to go, ready to ship or have been shipped or whatever. We'll know here in about 3 weeks, a couple of weeks. We'll know whether the December 3rd date was true or not. Hopefully it will be. And then we get into the big argument about whether it's all NPS, or will there be cameras for others, or how the allocation is going to work. I don't know. What I knew about NPS may not be current, but I still believe that there are only going to be so many that go out in the NPS to the NPS waiting list, and the stores or retailers are going to have bodies to sell to the general public. Those are probably already gone in pre-orders or waiting lists or whatever you have. So get ready for either great joy or a little disappointment that you didn't make the first shipment. So the big question tonight is, who has already pre-ordered this camera? When I say pre-order, I'm just going to leave that at maybe it's a waiting list at your camera store. Maybe it's a full payment for pre-order, depending on where you're at, or maybe it's just a deposit for a pre-order. So for me, it was just a waiting list. I don't think they're concerned about people backing out on this camera. They know no matter what, those that are on the waiting list, or at least most of them, will definitely be buying the camera. And if they don't, it's not like it's going to be hard to get rid of for the next 6 months. I say 6 months. Maybe I'm being a bit optimistic. I hope that within about 6 months, this thing has, I don't know that they're going to be readily available on the shelf, but maybe by 6 months, most people that initially wanted it, will have it in their hands. So have you pre-ordered, or are you sitting on the fence waiting for more information? So this morning I watched Grays of Westminster, and they had Rishi on there. They were talking about the camera, of course, and they went over a few more things. There are a lot of questions out there. A lot of people are asking a lot of questions that they haven't received answers for. Some because they haven't been like yours truly, that's looking at every video that's out right now. Some are in languages I don't even speak, so I got very little out of it. But there is a lot of information about the camera out there now. I think the two best sources for answering questions right now are Matt Granger, used to be the Nikon guy, and Rishi Talks. Both have done a great job of testing some of the things that people have actually, questions they've sent them, and they've had an opportunity to try or answer questions that didn't come out in the announcement or in all the ambassador talk. I think they're both reputable. They quantify their, I won't say opinion, but answers, because they're showing what they did to test those features or those capabilities, so that you can see for yourself and make a decision on whether it's the camera for you or not. Uh, Rishi's done a great job with the lenses as well. I think he just posted it either today, or he's getting ready to post his review of the 24 to 120. He said that that's a lens he had very little contact with initially. Of course, we know he's already said that he had the Z9 for 3 months. So he had plenty of time to give us a lot of information about the camera. He also had the 100 to 400 for a little bit more time than the 24 to 120. So he talks about that. He talks about the comparison between the 180 to 400, and he says it's very favorable. And he checked it at the 400 millimeter end, and he said that the 100 to 400 is a stellar lens. He also checked with the teleconverters, and while he's not a fan of teleconverters, and he used the comparison of the 70 to 200 S model with a the new 2x teleconverter, and he said that it's at 400 millimeter with a converter on the 70 to 200. There is a distinguishable difference between the 100 to 400 at 400 millimeter with no teleconverter. He said the 1.4 teleconverter, though, on all the lenses that he's used it on, works real well. There may be a little bit of degradation, but it's almost not noticeable. So there you go. And that's typical of the 2X converters for F mount and for the Z mount. So there you have it. Depending on what you're shooting, the converter might be something for you. I have the 2X converter, teleconverter, and I am definitely going to try it on the 1 to 400 whenever I get my hands on that lens. I pre-ordered it as well. It's a waiting list more than a pre-order at the store that I frequent. So I'm hoping that my spot on the list doesn't change via the Good Old Boy Network, because there were probably a lot of people that weren't concerned about this camera early on. And then after the announcement, they became big fans, or they just had to have it or whatever. So let's hope that there's no bumping going on the waiting list, or at least on the one I'm on. So hoping to get both in my hands by the end of the year. And yeah, I'm going to do some shooting with it. And I'll take any and all questions or desires for testing this or testing that. Not a problem. Hey, Mike, good to see you, buddy. So that's the crux of the conversation tonight. I think that a lot of people, as I said earlier, have not really spoken about or haven't watched enough videos to answer some of the questions they have, because I keep seeing some of the same questions come up. And I'm wondering, why are you asking this question? That's been answered already. And then I realized that, well, maybe they didn't search YouTube looking for all the answers, and they're relying on others to basically give those answers to them whenever they do jump on. So maybe tonight, for anybody that jumps in, anybody that has a question, you can ask. And I'll tell you what I know, not from hands-on, obviously, but from other YouTube reviewers. And maybe we can get some of those things answered for you. One of the common questions that keeps coming up, I see a lot, is since we have the USB-C port on the camera, can that be used for external memory? Can you save to the USB-C external memory SSD drive or whatever you want to call it. And you can't right now, according to Rishi and a couple of other people that have had their hands on the camera. Could it be a firmware update? Nobody knows for certain whether it can or can't. However, you have to understand that if you're using something like that as an external recording device for images or video, your speed on the camera for stills at 20 frames per minute or the 30 frames per minute in JPEG, or not minute, second, I'm sorry, or 120 frames per second in JPEG, those the external drive is going to have a fast, sustained write speed to be able to keep up with the fastest mode in the camera, just like the CF Express cards. So the CF Express cards are the same way. A lot of people talking about, nobody knows what they're talking about, and Nikon lied. I've seen comments like that, or questions even in some of the streams that I've watched, talking about the CF Express cards. No, I think Ricky made it very clear on the best available CF Express card, and that happens to be the Delkin Black, and it has a sustained write speed of 1400 bits per second. Yeah, and that's the marker right there. If you want to be able to shoot to the full potential of the Z9, you're going to have a sustained write speed of 1400 megabits per second. So that's just something to keep in mind. Matt Granger did a great video looking at the buffer capability, and of course, different cards render different results with the buffer on the camera. He goes through several cards, and he goes through several situations, shooting different resolution, i.e. the 120 frames per second JPEGs, and also the 20 frames per second. And I just forgot it's not lossless and lossless compressed or whatever. The three modes in full RAW, is the full RAW, and I can't remember what it's called again. Then there is the second mode, or RAW resolution, and that is a somewhat compressed resolution. And then you can go to a very lossy RAW setting, and in the lossy RAW setting, it'll shoot indefinitely until you fill the card or the camera battery goes, and you're going to fill the card long before the battery goes. But and the I can't think of the name of it. Anyway, again, it depends on the card though. XQD cards will work in the camera, and they'll work just fine for studio work or landscape or things like that. XQD cards will be just fine because you're probably not shooting at 20 frames per second. I would venture to say it isn't often that people will be shooting in 20 frames per second, other than those that are action photographers, sports photographers, and maybe in some short bursts during wildlife photography. So I'm really happy. I've got a dozen or so XQD cards, so that works out real well for me. I do plan to pick up a couple of the new CF Express cards with that sustained write speed for the camera, just so in those events when I want to shoot at 20 frames per second, and I don't know when that would be right now, but I have that capability to grab all the potential of the camera and use it. All the video is internal recording, and you can still record external, but everything that the camera offers right now in video specs is internal recording, to include the ProRes. The 8K60 will come out in the firmware update. No date on it, but it will come out in a firmware update sometime after the first of the year. Some of the other questions, I can't remember all of them right now, but there are quite a few questions out there that people have, or they keep asking. And again, those questions have been answered by somebody already. And they're not opinions. Most of them are backed up with the results as they test to answer those questions. Matt Granger just dropped another video, and it's about banding, because that was it continues to be a big question. Now, he didn't answer everything about banding, but while he was doing one test, he noticed banding. So he in high ISO, and he tested looking for banding. The banding, I'm trying to remember. Rather than me giving you some wrong information, I'll tell you that he has a partial answer to that question, and you need to go to Matt Granger's YouTube channel and look at it, because Matt has done a great job, again, in answering all these questions. So it makes it a little easier for somebody that's on the fence and hasn't decided yet, and they have all these questions and they're wanting to know, what can I expect? And I'm not going to plop down an investment in this camera until I know certain things. I mean, that's just the way some people are, and I understand that. But I think right now it's safe to say that Nikon didn't really hype this camera up. I mean, let me rephrase that. The hype is real. What they did hype is actually real. Now, there may be some bits and pieces that come out that it may change that a little bit. I don't believe so. I think people have tried to push this camera as hard as they can. And I mean, look at Frono's photo. He had little nitpicky things to say about the camera. And of course the battle rages over flippy screen and the tilting screen, 4-axis tilting screen and everything else, which is never going to go away. You know, if you put a flippy screen on it, the next model camera, then not everybody, a lot of people are going to complain about that. So I don't know where the happy medium is, unless they come up with some hybrid flip tilt screen. And I agree with the people on the side of, they don't want a flippy screen, just because if I just want to raise the screen to look at it when I'm holding it at waist level, I don't want to have to flip it out to the side, turn it to actually see in that situation. So yeah, I'm not a flippy screen guy, so I'll tell you that right now. So that's still raging though, in a lot of the forums and everything else. Flippy screen is I'm not buying it because it doesn't have flippy screen. Oh well, sorry about that. That's just the way it is. So anybody have any questions? Hey, Nikan, see you, buddy. Anybody have any questions? I don't know if we have enough people in here yet that may have some questions. Again, I may not be able to answer the question, but I can probably push you to a video that discusses it. But a lot of people still asking a whole lot of questions, and the answers are out there, or at least in part. They just haven't gone in search looking for the answers on the multitude of videos that are already out. So yeah, it's an exciting time. Let me throw this in there real quick. So I'm doing this through Restream tonight. I'm testing Restream. I'm looking for a platform that allows me to bring guests in. I haven't purchased a plan in Restream. This is just kind of a try it out and see how it works. I'd like to get guests to come in, and I can do that even in the free version of Restream. So if anybody would like to be a guest in a live stream, then all you have to do is shoot me an email. It's on the screen right now. Shoot me an email and let me know. I'll link up with you. And that goes for tonight, for anybody that is visiting tonight, would like to get in here. I think the banter is good, going back and forth, and we can probably answer a whole lot more questions for people, because you may have seen an answer to a question that I haven't seen yet in a video, or I forgot, which is likely. So the email address is there. Drop me an email and let me know, and we'll get you in here. It's really simple. All I do is send you a link. You click on the link and bam, you show up in the live stream. So if you'd like to, then shoot me an email. I'd love to get some people in here and really get this going and have some fun, especially once we have the cameras in hand. It's going to be really fun, because there are going to be a lot of people that want to verify what they've seen in a video about a capability or a something that the camera does. So you guys let me know. Have you pre-ordered or are you still on the fence waiting? With the pre-order number probably still growing, I'm sure it's slowed down a little bit, but probably still growing because there are people that have waited and waited and waited, and they're trying their best to decide whether they want to buy it or they don't. So again, back to before the announcement, in one of the videos that I have, one of the live streams I did, talking about price and availability and everything else, I predicted that this would be a camera that a lot of people would want to get their hands on. And we went through the argument of, well, you know, most people don't buy flagship. Well, this is a different kind of flagship, which really gets me into a discussion here in just a second about what does that really mean, flagship, and why does that scare people? It's just a title. It doesn't mean anything. However, pricing has always been fixed to flagships. So let's see. Any definite data for sale in North? No, I haven't seen anybody Nikon that has any that will release any data on their pre-orders or anything else. Some say, yeah, it's been pretty tremendous, the desire for the camera, and pre-orders or waiting lists. The list that I'm on, again, I started that list at the camera store that I'm purchasing the camera from. As soon as Nikon verified that this camera was in production or in development, and B&H, for whatever reason, dropped a placeholder on their site, I called my camera store, and I believe this is back in March, and I said, I'd like to get on the waiting list for the Z9. And they said, well, we can't do that until we know definitively, or Nikon states that the camera is in development or whatever. And I said, well, B&H already has the Z9 on their website as a placeholder. Yes, it doesn't say have any information, but the camera is there. And he said, well, hang on a minute. And he came back to the phone. And he said, okay, I'm guessing he went and verified what I was saying about B&H. And they started a list. So I was number one on the list. I hope I'm still number one on the list because of the craze for this camera. You know, there may be some good old boy stuff that goes on, but I knew this camera was going to do well. Now, well, let me go back to you. See, checked out Matt Granger and Rishi Fro and a few other guys. The Z9 is truly a D3 moment. Absolutely. I agree, Mike. I agree. And back to you, Nikon. Let's see. Will the Winter Olympics be the time Canon release the R1 to try and curb the appeal of Sony A1 or Nikon Z9? Good question. And somebody brought that up in one of the forums on Nikon Rumors, talking about if they can't get it in people's hands, it's going to lose ground. And, you know, people aren't going to be so excited. You're going to let Canon come out with the R1, and maybe Sony announces something else to replace the A1. And everybody's just going to hold tight and wait for those cameras. Well, that's absolutely true. But I think there will be enough Z9s on the street before either of those two things happen. I'm sure Canon's chomping at the bit to get some more information out there about the R1. And supposedly there is an announcement before the end of the year for the R1. I think I saw that over on Canon Rumors. Yeah, I go over there and snoop around just to see what they think about the Canon products and Nikon. But I think that they're going to make an announcement, maybe it's just a development announcement for the R1 before the end of the year. And that would be a smart thing to do, I would think. I'm going to pick on Nikon. I love Nikon, but that's not something Nikon would do. I don't know why they announced the Z9 so early. That's new for Nikon. So, yeah, I don't know. Will there be R1 pre-production cameras at the Winter Olympics? Yeah, see, there's a good possibility there will be. They sent their pre-production R3 to the Summer Olympics, And the Canon shooters that had them at the Olympics, of course, they didn't make any bones about it. They were really talking about what the camera could do and everything else. So I would say there's a possibility that you're going to hear about the R1 before the end of the year. So yeah, Z9's an epic moment for stills and video capability. So there are a couple of topics I want to touch on. Oh, the price for one, and the video capability of the Z9. I know I've harped on video. I shoot mostly stills. I'm not a videographer. I'm playing with video, but I'm not a videographer. The reason I harp on video, and as Nikon's concerned, is because Nikon has let a large segment of their base go because they don't promote video. Now, before the Z6, Z7, and now the Z9, there was, I mean, the video in the DSLRs got better, and better. It's great if you're going to pull focus, which a lot of people don't want to do now, although those that get into the hybrid cameras and start and really get into cinematography may find that they want to pull focus, but the autofocus in video has been a great seller for, first of all, Sony, and then Canon. Canon has capitalized on the video capability, hence the R5. Yeah, I know it's got some problems, but it sold a lot of cameras, though. 8K, not that anybody was using it that much, and the autofocus in video. Aspiring shooters, especially video folks, want to be able to pick up a hybrid camera that is cheaper than a cinema camera, although Canon has a long line of cinema cameras, and they are good cameras, cinema cameras, and they have some of the older models that are probably as cheap as some of the new mirrorless cameras that do a great job. But for whatever reason, a lot of people don't want to jump into cinema cameras. Those that are hybrid shooters and find that they are now being limited by the hybrid camera because they've just been so creative and done so much with their hybrid camera, i.e. the Sonys and the Canons, they're the people that may decide to move into a cinema camera. And for many reasons. I saw a comment in the Grays of Westminster this morning watching their live stream with Rishi, and it was a video comment or question talking about the XLR connectors, the mini XLR connectors. If the Z9 had that, then it would be the perfect camera and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I agree. But you know what? You can work around that. However, if you're full-time video, you want those XLR connectors for all your audio that you're doing with the camera. The problem with it being in the Z9 is the room that it would take to actually put those in the camera. I don't agree with doing that in the Z9. I think a body needs to be video centric with some stills capability for those that are really pushing the limits in their video production. I think that would be a great idea for Nikon down the road. Obviously, they've got a couple of cameras they need to get out first. I did pose the question about cine lenses with Rishi on the live stream. It kind of passed them by because, of course, comments and questions are going by at light speed. However, someone else did jump in and add their comment along that same line. And at the end, Rishi did answer the question about cine lenses. He said that, yes, obviously they broke the code on focus breathing. That's a big one for cinematographers or videographers. And he said right now he hasn't heard anything and doesn't know anything about Nikon even looking at the possibility of cine lenses for the Z mount. And I understand that. And then Becky jumped in with, well, right now they need to clear the roadmap and produce the other lenses. I agree with that. I'm not saying that they need to next month produce or have available a whole cine line lens or cine lens line for the Nikon shooters. But again, now back to talking about announcements and uh, develop, development announcements for cameras and camera bodies. They could do the same thing. They could put them on a roadmap, at least, even if it's 2023 before they were expected. And I think that draws a lot of attention from those that are going to look at the cameras for the video capabilities. Um, Nikon for years has been the stodgy old men up there, the 60s mentality, 1960s and 70s mentality. It's all stills, and they built their reputation on stills and everything else. I think that finally something cracked. I don't know what. Maybe there is a little bit of new blood that leaked into Nikon's development team or their marketing team. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden they realize maybe it's just numbers, maybe it's just income. I don't know. But they finally understand that video is something that's important. And man, I've got a video from 2 years ago talking about this because the writing was on the wall. Sony became big because they added the video, and I'm going to try to stay off the stump here, but I think Nikon realizes it. And when I brought that up in another question in the live stream, Rishi did answer it, and he talked about, well, Nikon, I think they wanted to do that, and they finally realized that that's a big market share piece is the video capabilities. And he said, I think they did that this time in the announcement, because typically a camera announcement is this much information, and then that much of it is video centric. And he's absolutely right. I agree. And they did a better job this time in the announcement on talking about the video capabilities of the Z9, and that's going to help. I think what really pushes them forward, though, is those cine lenses. And I think it would be very easy for them to do. They've got new secret sauce or whatever in their lens development with the Z mount. I don't know if it's the Z mount that allows it or what, but they have at least found a way to control the focus breathing. And that's a biggie, as I said, for anybody that's doing video, especially obviously on the primes. So putting those on a roadmap, I think would really excite the base. Your old stodgy, the photographers that are complaining about video, the Nikon shooters that are complaining, I don't care if video's in the camera, I don't want blah, blah, blah. They're of the same era as the old marketing for Nikon. Guess what? Times have changed. So that said, the more market share you have, and it's not for bragging rights, the more money there is coming in, and R&D money is not based on any one unit. Money allocated for R&D, or that's given to R&D, doesn't come from just one unit. It comes from all the sales of all the cameras. So more money means more R&D, which means more innovation, and we get to benefit from that. But if we keep fighting Nikon and we just want stills cameras, then we're going to become a Leica brand. Yeah, great cameras, but how many do they sell? So the next generation is not looking for the greatest stills camera in the world. They're looking for cameras that can do both. And most often they're looking for cameras that have great video specs that help them become more creative in what they want to do. Age doesn't matter in camera sales anymore. And everybody's talking about, well, no kids are buying. I beg to differ. I don't know where you're at. You're surrounded by, 10 or 15 poor people. Yeah, they exist, but people are buying cameras. And you think that, well, they can't afford it. There are a lot of people that can't afford it, but you don't base a product on, the few that can afford it. You base it on the masses and allow everybody a chance to own it. And that's what Nikon did. Nikon broke the mold, and you can bet Canon isn't real happy about it, because flagship had a price tag assigned to flagship, not because it costs more to make. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it's just the title flagship. Everybody expected flagship to cost $6,000, $6,500, or $7,000, especially with new innovation and everything else. Nikon knew, because in the rumors, everybody was talking about this camera is going to be 6,500. Wouldn't surprise me if it isn't 7,500. I don't know how many times I saw those comments. Everybody thought that it was definitely going to be $6,500. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And with all this tech that was rumored, then they pushed that to 7,000. Oh, it's going to be $7,000. Why? Because it's a flagship, and very few people buy flagship. Get rid of that title. Get rid of it. You know, I need to quit using it myself. It's a camera. It's the top of the line 4. And if you want to call it a flagship, that's fine. But don't assign a demographic to flagship. Don't assign money or cost to flagship. Nikon just broke the mold on it. Sorry about that. So it's time now for that next generation to jump into our old flagship cameras. People that want the best, don't care if it's a flagship or whatever, they're going to buy the best. So they broke the mold on the price, because the flagship shocked everybody. It had to be $7,000. Guess what? Well, you already know it wasn't. Hey, Nikon, who called that? We called that, didn't we? That was early on. I mean, that was a bold, thought to throw out there, and everybody laughed, especially when I said, I actually went to the penny. I said 54, 96, 96. And I was a penny off. So then it was, well, it's still an expensive camera and people can't afford it. Don't speak for me. Don't speak for anybody else. You speak for yourself. I can't afford it, and I'm not going to get it. But don't tell everybody who can afford it and who can't. And I'm tired of all the advice on people asking the question, do you need it? It's not about need. If you need it, you need it. But you don't have to need it to get it. Okay. Again, we're stuck in the 60s or something, or we got these financial planners that, decide for everybody else what we're supposed to get and what we're not supposed to get. There are people out there, and I have heard them. You've probably heard them. Some of the people talking about the camera have already stated, well, it's outside my budget that I had for a new camera, but I'm getting it anyway. And there you go. There you go. So quit trying to force people into a hole. All right, let me get over here to some comments. I've been rambling for a minute, and I hope it's made some sense. We talked about let's see. Nikon this weekend. We checked out Matt Granger, Rishi. We talked about that. Z9 is yes. And I do now see the epic moment. It is the D3 moment. It truly is. And a lot of people are still going to deny that or argue about it or whatever. And I don't really care. It is the D3 moment, because it's going to break the mold on a whole lot of things, just like the D3 did. And I don't mean on capabilities, but again, on price and everything else. So there you have it. We have another D3 moment. Nikon was smart to get in there before everybody else, because somebody else could have given us a camera, not us, but us in general, the photography, videography community, a camera that would be a D3 moment as well. Nikon doesn't get to claim that to themselves, or just for, Nikon's the only one that has those moments. So anyway, this is another D3 moment. No doubt about that. How long is it going to last? As long as it lasts. Okay. We'll always remember, even if it's just 6 months, that it hangs on to that title. But you can bet everybody else is, they're furious, not furious, but they're furiously developing a camera to compete or exceed the Z9. And they will. So now Nikon's got to look at different avenues again to bring back some of the Nikon shooters and a lot of them will be, or not just bring back, but to get this younger generation to look at Nikon seriously. I watched a video with two kids. I say kids are probably early 20s, and they're laughing at Nikon. They were talking about the Z9. They didn't believe some of the hype, and they obviously haven't looked at any videos, and they were laughing at Nikon. Nikon, it's going to overheat. Yeah, Nikon 8K, oh, it's going to overheat. So I mean, that's what we're putting up with, but that's killing Nikon in that generation. So anyway, we got to fix that. We got to do something about it. So I did the live stream talking about the does Nikon need to look for new young ambassadors? And we definitely, maybe I need to quantify that more. Young video ambassadors. Does Nikon have any video ambassadors? Do you know of any? If so, drop a comment. I want to know if you know of any true Nikon video ambassadors. And Corey Rich is one, but Corey Rich isn't. We need a youngster. I hate to say it that way, but we do. Somebody that's really producing with Nikon cameras, video, that can speak to this generation and really put Nikon's video on the map. And it can't be the old stodgy people. It can't be just specs. It's got to show creativity, because that's what they're looking for. They'll see all the specs within the creativity. We need a good Nikon ambassador that does that. All right, so let me go back over here. Sorry about that. It's easy to get off track for me, especially. Nikon, you need to tell how much the camera will be is going to be cost you after taxes, VAT. It's quite shocking. You know what? If it was $7,000, it'd be the same thing, Mike. I mean, everybody understands that they're going to have to pay tax, or the VAT is going to be included. But would you rather start at $5,500 and then add taxes, or $6,500 or $7,000 and add taxes? It is what it is. And you can't say it'll cost this much with taxes, because here in America, of course, every state applies their own state sales tax. So there isn't any way to do that. You give a base price and let everybody calculate themselves. But $5,400 sounds a whole lot better as a starting point than $6,500 or $7,000. So I agree. So Nikon, in your situation with the VAT over there, so it's an equivalent in Ireland of $7,323.23. That's VAT included and everything else. I know the UK is different, isn't it? UK is cheaper. So everywhere you go, it's going to be a different amount. There's Nikon can't put out a sheet of, oh, by the way, if you're in America and you live in this state, here's what it's going to cost with taxes, and so on and so forth. Or this country, you're paying VAT, and here's the VAT. They can't do that. So, but again, I go back to just look at the starting point, and $5,500 is a whole lot better to start before taxes, and it's less tax, by the way, than $7,000 is a starting point. So it still undercuts everybody. Now, Nikon and Canon probably had some unspoken gentleman's agreement, which Sony capitalized on, that the flagship models would be, would remain up here in this realm of, they just continued to climb. Hence the R3 price at $6,000. And I will bet you that Canon wishes they could go back and change that now. Oh, they could discount it. But do you really believe they'll do that? No. It's better to have started at that price than to try to go back and discount that price. So that's a good indicator that Nikon caught them off guard. But Nikon broke the little gentleman's agreement that flagship cameras fall into this realm. We all stay within $500 of each other, and we're all happy. Now, Nikon probably looked at it, and as I said earlier, saw all the talk and everything else, and had considered, because this camera is going to be a D3 moment with all the features that we put in it, without consideration of how much it costs to build the camera, we could charge $7,000 and people would still buy it. And I agree, people would still buy it. I don't think in the numbers you're going to see, but I think people would still buy it. And we'd all be, well, that's because of the technology and blah, blah, blah. And they would have kept Canon, and they would have kept Sony happy. Now everybody's going to have to react to that price. I heard one guy say in a video, he thinks Nikon has doomed themselves for failure because of the cost of this camera. He thinks that Nikon is doomed now. If it wasn't bad enough hearing about all the doom and gloom about Nikon into the future, now this guy's saying this camera is going to kill Nikon because they just underpriced it so tremendously, and it's costing them. They're giving away money in this camera. I doubt that very seriously. But anyway, that's how much of a shock it's been. And now the R1 coming out or being announced, development announcement maybe here in the next 4 or 5 weeks or so. I don't know if there'll be a rumor about the price, but you can bet the R1's not going to be a $6,500 camera. I don't care how good it is, because they just can't do that. So Nikon set the standard there as well. Yet another D3 piece, not really for the comparable to the D3, but a moment that in history that we will remember. Nikon dropped the flagship price by $1,000 from the former DSLR. Man, sorry, folks. All right, what else we got here? Yeah, you get nearly 2 Z9 cameras for the cost of one camera in Ireland. Sorry about that, buddy, and I hate it. But then again, as Mike had said, you're going to add tax to this, depending on how you buy it. There are some, B&H, if you went there and you buy the camera there and you're part of their PBOO credit card thing, then if you have the cash available and you use that card to buy the camera, then B&H, whatever they do, whatever magic they do, you don't pay any tax as long as you pay the card off by the end of the month. So that saves tax right there. And that's going to be a chunk of change for those that do that. So there may be ways, and it is possible for some to not have to pay that, at least here in the United States. So let's see, how do we know the Z9ism? Hey, BFS, I'm sorry, I don't understand, but maybe if I continue to read, somebody else has said it too. The Z9ism. If we don't hit level 5, is total close down. Yes, I lost you, Nikon. I have been watching the comments, so I'm probably just lost in the context here. How do we know the Z9 isn't another one-time lost leader, such as the D700 and A7 III? I didn't know the D700 was a loss. And if you're talking about the fact that it came out soon after the D3, that it stole from the D3, there's a lot of discussion about that. I think that's minimal, though. The impact is minimal, because you got to go back to, you got to look at a camera sold is a camera sold. And I'm going to guess the markup in cameras is not that different across the spectrum of cameras. Now I don't know that for a fact, but I doubt that. And if that's the case, then Nikon's done the right thing with the Z9, haven't they? They brought it back to a real or a fair profit per unit. And I don't think that's the case, though. I think that their profit per unit is probably close across the spectrum. I may be wrong and be willing to discuss that too. Uh, Hand controller is more like I'll never see Sony the same way after the Sony PlayStation hand controller. They can. Uh, New autofocus update for the Z50, Z6, and Z7 a short time ago. Nikon is showing the care for their customers. I was impressed with that. Yeah, I have been too. There weren't a lot of major firmware updates for the DSLR line. I can only think of one right now. I know it's not the only one, but the ability to use CF Express cards in the cameras that had moved to XQD, and there was some kind of a AF update or something on I think the D850, wasn't there, if I'm not mistaken. So I can't remember. But yeah, they have committed to firmware updates definitely with the Z series, and I think it's great. And considering some of those updates have been really good, I mean, that's great and may even get better. There's one thing that I was slightly wrong about. We were talking about the Z9 AF capabilities and everything else. And everybody was talking about, great, we're going to see it in, the Z6, the Z7, Z6 II, Z7 II. And I was concerned at the time and just doubted that we would see much improvement because the hardware architecture, dual lane data, and I'm sorry, something just blinked over here. I've got something else on the other monitor. I didn't think that there would be enough oomph, if you will, in the Z6, Z7, Z6 II, Z7 II. And somebody had brought up, well, you got dual XP 6 processors in the D6 II and the D7 II. Yeah. But then when we found out, and we don't have an actual speed or anything else, but Nikon had basically said it as well. The XP 7 is 12 times faster than the XP 6. Then I just had to believe readout speed and everything else was going to make the difference, and the XP 6 processor wasn't going to allow it. However, it seems the algorithm, which I didn't consider because I'm not a tech monster, the algorithm could be improved. And now you got people complaining, why didn't they do this in the beginning? Well, why didn't Henry Ford, build a Ferrari-like car in 1920? Well, the technology wasn't there, or they hadn't discovered it yet. Okay, so be happy that we got the firmware update. I know I am, because I have a Z6 and I have a Z6 II. I haven't updated the firmware in the Z6 yet because that's what I'm on right now. That's the camera I'm using right now, and it works great for this. And I will update it maybe tomorrow just to see how it does with the stills and AF. From what I've seen where videos have shown the improvement, this is a weird thing too. If you just watch one video and it happens to be a video where the guy says, well, it doesn't do anything, and that's it, then you go around telling people it doesn't do anything. Then everybody starts to believe, well, it didn't make a difference. Then you got another video that you didn't watch, and it's the guy saying, well, look, here, I see an improvement. You can see it too. I'll demonstrate, blah, blah, blah. And that's how all this stuff gets started. But people are already complaining it's not enough. And it may not be enough to suit you, but it's more than you had. And guess what? I had to buy a Z9 because my D5 won't do what the Z9 will do. Well, why didn't they just put it all in the D5? Because the technology wasn't there yet. So anyway, a lot of people start complaining all the time about all these different things. The only thing I really complain about with Nikon anymore, and have for a long time, is their marketing. I mean, they're just out to lunch when it comes to thinking ahead. Innovation, yes. But marketing, forget about it. It just isn't happening. All right. I call it an undercut. Let's see. The standard 6,500 and other companies can't stand the new normal price. Oh, I agree with you. Again, I think they broke that gentleman's unspoken agreement among manufacturers that here's the flagships and here's what they're going to cost, and we'll all stay within reach of each other and continue to let this grow. For whatever reason, Nikon decided that isn't it. And that's why people think that, well, they're just going to take a loss on it because they just out of the blue drop that price. No, I don't think that's true at all. I think there are a lot of factors to dropping the price as well. And part of it's in manufacturing, in the production of the camera. It's got to be simpler to produce Z9s than it was a D6. Has to be. And it's probably cheaper to produce Z9s than it is a D6. So Nikon did the right thing and passed that savings on to us. You know what? I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to fight about it. I'm not going to complain about it. I get the better deal. And that's all that matters right now is me, the consumer, finally get a better deal. Maybe they're making more profit even at $5,500. I don't know. But it doesn't matter because all I know is what they did cost and what they cost now, they being flagship cameras. And now it's affordable for a whole lot more people, not to mention the fact that the camera appeals to a whole lot more people, not just sports shooters. It appeals to just about everybody. You can do everything and do it well. So $5,500, a camera that can do anything I want to shoot. Man, can it get any better? I mean, honestly, can it get any better? Let's see. SQD firmware was updated DA50 D6 and to take the CF Express cards. Yep. In Ireland, 5 levels of COVID restrictions. 5 is back to a total nationwide shutdown. We're at level 4 here in Ireland. Man, yeah, we're not going to turn this into a political. I'm sick of COVID. It's not killing the world. Yes, it's real. Enough. All right, Mike, $5,500 for a Z9. Don't look at a gift horse. Yes, absolutely. And you know why people want to question that, or then, well, there's got to be a catch. There has to be a catch. It's cheaper. Well, didn't Tony Northrup actually say that if the Nikon prices the Z9 low, that people are going to just say, well, it's not professional. What a stupid statement. And we use that term professional way too much in the photography world. I don't even know what a professional photographer is anymore. You know, you shoot weddings on weekends. You're a professional photographer. Maybe you do a great job at it. Maybe you're crap and you shoot $50 weddings on the weekend to augment your income or whatever. Are you a professional? We don't even know what professional is anymore. So why state that a camera is a professional camera? You know, it's only as professional as the person holding it. All right. All right. Yeah. Well, we got through all the chat comments. Yeah, man. I wish we could get some more people in here. So anybody that's in here and is kind of sitting in the background back there, just so you know, anybody that would like to come on and be on at the same time, be a live guest to chat about all these different things, just shoot me an email. Email's on the screen right there, and it's on, this one. No, this one. There's the email. Shoot me an email. I'll definitely respond and set it up so that we can, I can invite you in to future live streams. And I mean, if somebody really wanted to jump in here tonight, I'd be happy to screen. That's what I have over here is that I've got email open so I could see. I might even try to get you in here tonight, but definitely for the next live stream, if you'd like to be considered to jump in here as a live guest, just drop me an email so I can make the connection so that we can do that. Obviously, you're not, bound by, hey, I'd like to jump in as a guest for any certain night, but I try to put up a reminder for the live streams, and that way you would know, hey, yeah, I'd like to be on tonight or whatever. So I think it'd be a lot of fun. Get some more opinions in here rather than just mine, and they are my opinions, but I think it'd be great for the community as well. Not to mention that I would really like for people to say, hey, I'd like to showcase some of my creativity with the camera, whether it's photos or video, but especially in the video world. If you're one of those creatives that's really doing something great with the Nikon video, then hit that email. Let me know. I'd love to showcase it here on a live stream so other people can see it. I think we've got the nut cracked on how to do it. I think I finally have all the components running now. At least I have audio. Oh, so Nikon. I heard the top produce an optical eyepiece was up to 20% the cost of the DSLR. Hence, the Nikon price of the new Z9 would equate to roughly 20% of the D6. Okay, yeah, you'd brought that up a while back when we were talking about it and the cost of producing, because the OVF, the optical viewfinder, is not just a couple of pieces of crap that they put in there, an angle, a mirror, whatever. That's all optical grade glass that it has to be ground polished, cut, and everything else for that optical viewfinder. And the mirror, I don't know, but the shutter mechanism as well, that's another cost. It's such a precision piece, and it's obviously built out of not special materials, but very expensive materials to be as light, to operate as fast as it had to, and have some longevity. If you eliminate those, I agree with you, Nikon. You eliminate those two things, those two pieces, and you're right. It not only saves money in the parts, if you will, it also probably saves a lot of money in production, because the optical viewfinder wasn't just slapped in there. It had to be calibrated as well. So you're right. They're saving a lot. Now, what does that say about Canon with the R3? Did they say, you know what, we're really not having to put this and that in there? Although they are not completely shutterless. I get that. But in the optical viewfinder. So with the EVF, how much does it cost to buy a little mini TV and throw in there? I bet you it's a whole lot less for that piece than it is for that OVF and the production cost and everything else. So, Terry, good to see you, buddy. And I know you said earlier that you weren't going to be a pre-order person, at least not now. Yeah, I saw that he just launched his 70 to 200 review. I haven't looked at it. I really don't want to. I don't hate the guy, but I really don't want to give him any clicks, if you will, because I usually am going to disagree with him. And why should I give him a click to disagree with him? So anyway, I haven't watched it. Yeah, you haven't watched it either. Sounds like he slammed the Nikon. Of course he did. That was his big issue with the old 70 to 200. Well, there's too much focus breathing. It's not really a 200 millimeter, blah, blah, blah. The guy has a vendetta with Nikon. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's because people complain to him about him complaining about Nikon. I don't know. But yeah, I don't care anymore. Whatever he wants to shoot, that's fine. But just don't go on YouTube and telling people that Nikon's crap, because it isn't. And I mean, if you want to say I don't like Nikon, okay, but don't go on there trying to prove that Nikon's terrible. You're just trying to kill the company. I mean, how do you sleep at night, man? So much anger. Give it up, Tony. Come on. If you don't like it, just say I don't like it, or it could be a little better. Okay, I can live with that, but get off the hate train with Nikon. He hadn't said anything about the Z9 since his blowout. Yeah, because he was stupid. I'm sorry, he was stupid in what he said, and he should be hiding a little bit and let that blow over, or hope that it blows over, because he tried to show people that he was the most knowledgeable person in the world about cameras and manufacturers. That's the only thing I can think he thinks about himself, because to make a couple of the statements that he made it was absolutely stupid. And now he's paying for it, and he should pay for it. All right. He said Nikon was second place with, of course. Now, who could have guessed that he picked Sony number one? Everybody raise your hand if you're shocked. So I know nobody's raising their hand right now, at least in this chat. Of course he said Sony was number one. And you know what? Maybe it is. I don't know. I haven't touched Sony camera, Sony lenses, but I didn't even have to guess at that. I could have made money betting on that. I'd made money two ways. One, Nikon wasn't going to be first, and two, Sony would be first. Guaranteed. Knew it. Absolutely. I don't get it. I really don't. But okay. All right. So that's why I don't click on his videos. I don't have to. I can go to Nikon Rumors and somebody's going to talk about the latest video that he put out bashing Nikon. That's all I need. All right. Complaining about the size of the 70 to 200, 2.8 lens and weight. Well, yeah, because he's weak. He is. He's pretty fragile. I mean, look at him. He's not a really, he's not what you would call a manly man. Okay. So weight and size matters. And there are a lot of people out there now that feel that way. Well, I thought mirrorless was going to be smaller and lighter. I thought the lenses would be smaller and lighter. Can't we defy physics and have what we want? Can't we do that? All right. Craziness. Now I'll get some hate mail for that, for anybody that sees it. But you know what? At least I get some mail for it. Sometimes negative mail is better than no mail. All right. Yeah, figure. Absolutely. Let's see. Really, the people you want to follow and find out about cameras have separated them from the rest. Yeah, no doubt about it. Tony had his day in the sun, and I'm not picking on Chelsea. She hasn't been negative Nelly. So, it's just Tony. He just wants to be the smartest man in the room. That's it. And he's probably pretty smart, but he's not the smartest man in the room. So I don't listen to him. I know a lot of people won't talk bad about him and they try to tiptoe around it. I'm not talking bad about him. I don't hate him. I just don't care at all for anything he has to say, because it's never, it's just so negative. And that goes for Fro too. Fro's knowledgeable, but he did the interview with Vahography. If you haven't checked that out, go check it out. I think he's just a kind of an angry personality. It's reflected in his YouTube channel. He's really no different. He doesn't put on a show on YouTube, believe it or not. I really believe that's the way he is. And he brings up good points, but he kills it with his absolutely horrific negative way of saying this needs to be improved. It's just hatred. It's like, well, they bombed. That lens is that's a kit lens, and these feel like junk because they're not metal. It's just the comments he makes. If he's got a sister, I hope he never goes. I hope she doesn't have a child and he comes over, because she's going to find out whether her child is beautiful or not. He's not going to mince words. That's an ugly baby. And there's a better way of saying it. All right. Matt Granger has been doing. Yeah, Matt Granger, we talked about that earlier. I try to pass that on to everybody. If you want some answers to your questions about the Z9, he's answering a lot of them, and he's showing you how he's answering those questions. Been very good, very good. Of course, Rishi, he's been doing a great job giving us not a preview, but a review of the camera and the lenses. Um, and he'll share his opinion, but he'll tell you it's my opinion because I see creativity maybe differently than you. So I may accept something that you won't accept, or you accept something that I won't accept as far as the sharpness or this or that or whatever. And that's good. That's exactly how you need to present it and let people find out for themselves. And anybody that's buying lenses or cameras, I'll tell you right now, I'll say this to the audience. Anybody that's buying cameras based on your favorite YouTuber's decision, whether you should or you shouldn't, you're crazy. I just say it. You're crazy. I know we want to get an idea about cameras, lenses, and other things, or get some answer to questions we have, but I've often gone against the grain and bought something, especially lenses, and turns out I love the rendition from the lens. It may not be DxO's top of the list lens for everything, but I love how it renders contrast and colors. And I know a lot of you guys feel the same way about some of the lenses that you have, which also I've always felt that the flagship, I'm using that term, the flagship cameras had some secret sauce in the, in the colors. And I don't know, there was just something different for whatever reason the flagships had that every other body under them didn't have. And maybe I just imagined that. So that's my opinion, but I felt that way. So anyway, if you're listening to somebody and they say, well, don't buy this lens. Well, I don't know what gives them the right to tell you not to buy it. They may, somebody could tell me, well, I'm not going to buy it, and for these reasons, but don't let people talk you out of something you actually want, especially if you have the opportunity to return it because it didn't pan out for you. All right. Remembers leaders lead, managers manage. Yes. Strategist points to the general direction. Yeah. Not ordering the Z9, too much of a camera for a novice like me. Okay, fair enough, Woody. Fair enough. And if you mean by that, I'd really be spending money I don't want to spend on a camera that I don't think I can maximize, then I understand that. But if it's purely, hey, I'm an amateur, I don't have any, I shouldn't be buying a camera at that level. And that's it. If money is no problem, and the only reason you would not buy it is because you think it's outside your ability as a photographer or a videographer, I beg to disagree. I beg to differ, because if money's not the issue, and that I understand, if money's not the issue and you're just doing it because you think, well, I'd be stupid to get it because, I just take snapshots of this or that or whatever. Sometimes something like that will not force you, but give you more passion for shooting and video and everything else. And all of a sudden you find that you have not mastered the camera, but used the majority of what the camera can do. But I'm not trying to sell you on it, Woody. You're absolutely right. If it's just, you know what, I don't want it, then that's fine too. But don't sell yourself short, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Just because you feel like you're, not at the top of the game for photos and whatnot, get what you want. There you go. Get what you want. It's amazing to see onslaught of Nikon Z9 videos put together by people that are just copying comments from other videos. So much out of touch content creates that don't have a clue. Yes. And that's, well, hey, Mike, that's me. I'm sitting here talking about what everybody else says. I'm not going to say I cherry pick, but I try to get the ones that have an honest read on whatever feature they're talking about or whatever. And especially if they can show how they quantified their opinion based on the test they run. I think that's those people I like listening to. If they get too techie, though, I'm not so much on that. I'm not so much on that. And not that I have anything against them because there are a lot of people out there. They want to dig into the weeds. I saw a comment today on, I don't know what it was on, somebody saying they can't wait till one of the rental houses gets the Z9 so they can take it apart and because I don't know, they seem to do that from time to time with cameras. They take them apart or whatever. So anyway, I thought, nah, I don't care. I don't want to see what's inside. I just want to see what it does and be able to use it. So, but to each his own. If that turns you on, man, tech it is. Money's not the issue. See, I don't own a smartphone either. Don't know how to turn my light. I get you, Woody. I got you, man. I got you. You know what? So maybe here it is. If you can live happily without it, then you're set. You're absolutely set. But if you have a desire and you think maybe it's just outside your league, no, don't let that stop you, man. But don't go in debt just to, satisfy, a little itch you have. All right. Z9 would be easier than a cell phone. I would agree with you, Mike. I think it would too. And I know what you shoot now with something, so don't sell yourself short, buddy. We're I don't know anybody in here that is a professional in the sense that you earn a significant part of your income via photography or videography. Anybody in here in that category? I'm not. I'm a full-time hobbyist. That's what I am. Full-time hobbyist. I have shot some things for some people, and there have been times when they would graciously give me a tip or something like that. But I don't shoot as a business. So I'm a hobbyist and I still buy what I want. It's kind of like the guy that's, works in the factory or in an office or wherever and has the money to buy things he wants and owns or collects cars. He doesn't need them. He collects them because he wants to. And I don't know why, if you're into photography, you can't collect high end cameras, lights, and everything unless you're a professional, because that's stupid. That's stupid. You can't have a photography hobby. Well, that's unheard of. Crazy people out there. I got some rants tonight. Sorry about that. I hope it's not irritating anybody. I just can't anymore. Woody, as long as you can. Nice comment, buddy. Nice comment. Let's see. Did I miss something up here? Yeah, Woody, cell phones. Yeah, I agree. I get a new phone. I have to take it to one of my kids to transfer everything over to the new phone. No, I'm not kidding. Hey, Steven. All right, man. You've already paid for it. And the lens. Good on you, buddy. Good on you. I mean, I guess good on you. I mean, you definitely wanted the camera, and could pay up front. You have any idea where you stand on the list with whatever retailer you used to buy it? Any idea? And you may not. Yeah, D500. Oh, come on, Woody. Don't sell yourself short, man. You got a D500, D7100 Pro Glass. I'm not trying to talk you into the C9, man, but I mean, it looks like you're somebody that knows what you're doing. And I don't know if it would, everybody asks, will it make your photography better? Well, I hope so. I'm buying it and I want to have fun with it. I think therefore it might make my photography better. Oh, AP, I did pre-order. Let's see, I did pre-order, and based on a comment I saw you leave somewhere else, I will work out and not complain about the weight. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm 61 years old, and I have shot some events here locally and walked miles carrying, not every time, but carrying the 200 F2 on a D5 on one side and the D850 with a 24 to 70 2.8 on the other side. And yes, I mean, I felt the weight, but I wasn't crippled at the end of the day. And I hear these people talk about, I'd like to shoot a wedding and not be, so down in my back as I get older. Oh man, I just can't. It just drives me crazy. Would I like lighter too? Yeah, maybe so. But I don't find what we have with DSLRs to be so bad that I can't enjoy it. But anyway, and then people will say, well, I want something light because I do backpacking. Okay. All right. Don't join the army. I'll just tell you that right now, right up front. Not that you had any inkling of joining the army, but definitely don't join the army. If a camera and a lens will wear you out on a little backpacking hike, buddy, don't join the army. All right. Oh, where are we at here? No desire to do video. Love photographing grandkids and sports. Great, man. Great. Yeah. And I think that's fine. And I think sometimes when I get on my video kick, everybody thinks I'm trying to sell them on video. I am not. I purely, honestly, truly, I see it as a missed opportunity with Nikon that they won't get on the video train. Although it seems like they have finally jumped aboard, and let's see if they continue it. Because I really believe I have a young stepson, young being 26 years old. And he's a firefighter down in Yonkers. Great kid. But he's I've done a lot of video stuff for him, for stuff that he's producing. And he keeps talking about he needs to get him a camera. And I ask him, which camera are you going to get? Well, yeah, probably the Sony. Now he's even jumped over to, maybe the Canon. I can't convince him. I can't even talk about Nikon. Even though I use it, he sees the results, and I'm going to beat this microphone to death. But you know why? Peer pressure and everybody out there's telling him that Sony is the only way to go. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And now there are some that are saying Canon. Nobody, and I ask him that. Anybody shoots Nikon? Nope, nobody. And it's all from this thing right here, YouTube, and the influencers that are out there and the people that are shooting, the Peter McKinnon. Because Peter McKinnon shoots Canon, well, I can't be outside the clique. I've got to shoot Canon too. That kind of stuff. That's why Nikon needs some of these people. I'm not saying go hire these influencers, but they need to nurture some people to get them out there and help them so that Nikon can showcase what it has and what it does. The old timers argue with me. Nope, don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need none of that. Nope. And they're the people that shoot 8 frames a year, but they only want a stills camera, and Nikon's got to stick to that. All right. Enough about that. Sun Sniper camera strap. Yeah. As it has metal cable, yep, to protect against people trying to cut the camera strap. Yep. I'll get right back to Steven. Sorry, Steven. See how easy it is? Shiny object. Yeah, I shoot with a Black Rapid strap. I have 2 singles, and I bought the dual harness for the Black Rapid. And I really like it. It just distributes the weight real well. It's easy to keep the cameras, especially if I'm shooting car events and things like that. Walking through between the cars, I can pull the cameras around in front of me to keep them from touching the cars, and then let go, and I don't have to worry about them. So, but I like that cable in the strap. I agree. If I were somewhere that I was really concerned about that, yeah, I don't think I'd use the Black Rapid. I would get something with a cable in it. You bought it from Midwest Photo in Ohio. Says I'm number 2 or 3 on the list. Yes, man. Good for you. Good for you. Especially when they tell you that. Yeah, you're number 2 or 3. I predict you're going to get your camera in the first shipment. And we're going to see, because we're going to fight this NPS battle. Everybody's saying NPS. Every NPS member gets a camera before anybody else. Some of them actually say that. No, I disagree. I don't think that's the case. We'll see. We shall see. So, personal reason for buying all my Nikons after 20 years of naval service and driving a truck for going on 26 years. Treat me very well. Steven, good on you, man. Thank you for your service. Thank you. My dad was a Navy guy. My brother was a Navy guy, and I bucked everybody and went Army. 23 years, and then another additional 17 years contracting for the military. But yeah, good on you. Thank you for your service, especially right after Veterans Day, and driving a truck for 26 years. That's it, man. It's time for you, isn't it? Time for you. Nikon D90 was the first real video capable camera, but Nikon went snowflake on gender video. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'll make a statement that will make everybody, or all the Canon and Sony folk, mad, but I'm not making it to make them mad. I think Nikon has always been the most innovative manufacturer in the game. I really do believe that. They just don't, they come up with a great idea and have a Kodak moment. Hey, we'll make a digital camera, Kodak. All right. And then go out of business. Not that Nikon's going out of business, but hey, you know what? Be a good idea. What? Put video in the camera. Yeah, let's try it. Put video in the camera. And then from there it goes downhill. Yep. Yeah, Gray's Westminster is a good starting point for a lot of you're talking about all the information that's coming out about the Z9 and so on and so forth. I like Gray's. I just found them with the Z9 stuff. I never knew about them. By the way, you may find it boring, but there's a video that Matt Granger made, I don't know when, several years ago, where he interviews Gray of Gray's of Westminster. I thought it was a great interview. It was really interesting listening to Mr. Gray talk about his shop and what he shot and different things like that. Very interesting. Check it out if you get a chance. I think you'll like it. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I just can't get anymore. Can't get anymore. That has an innuendo in it. Can't anymore. Got it. Thank you very much. Everybody's got a calling. Everybody does what they're called to do. So it was a good living though. And some of the best times of my life, even the worst times that after all is said and done, are really memories to keep forever. So, I love the Army. I stayed 23 years and only got out because, well, 1, I could retire, and 2, I had a better offer on the table doing basically the same thing I was doing in the Army. So that's how it goes. I love that we have choices when it comes to all cameras. I hate all the camera bashing. I love your approach when giving your personal opinion. Thank you very much, Stephen. Oh, I told you, man, I might start wearing a lapel mic or something. Yeah, and I'm not going to say, at times I may get a little angry because of somebody that's saying something or whatever, but I agree. I'm happy that all the different makers are out there. I don't begrudge them of their technology or anything else. And I think the Sony A1 is a very nice spec camera. Canon with the R5. To be honest, I was a bit jealous that Nikon couldn't. Like, where's Nikon? I did a video and it says, "Where are you, Nikon?" And it was about the time of the discussion about the R5. But I don't begrudge, Canon of having, quality products as well. Uh, I I don't know. The Sony trolls used to be horrendous in any forum you were in. And there's no doubt they were Sony trolls. I don't believe in everybody made the comment, well, they're paid. No, they're not. But you know what? It may speak to the average age of the Sony shooter. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying, they're being kids, but, you know, they were the worst of the worst of the worst when it comes to trolls, especially in forums. And they just say the most outlandish things. They have no history. They don't know any history of cameras or lenses or lens makers or camera makers. They assume that everybody started building cameras when Sony started building cameras. So there it is. That's the depth of their history or knowledge of history of cameras and lenses. And they just can say the dumbest things just to try to get you to agree that their brand is the best brand in the world. So they were annoying. But yeah, I don't have a problem with other camera makers. It doesn't fit me. I don't know why. I honestly don't. Well, I know a couple of things, and it becomes everybody says it, but I do. I like the colors that the Nikon renders. I like the contrast of the lenses. Not that I couldn't pick up a Canon and enjoy shooting. Well, I mean, it'd take me a while to figure out the menu and everything else, of course. And that's another thing. And the Sony guys would always say, because everybody picked on Sony, their menu system was horrible, blah, blah, blah. I don't know whether it was or it wasn't. But then they would say, no, Nikon menus are terrible and blah, blah, blah. Well, I doubt they know, but they would jump into those arguments and try to convince everybody that, whatever brand they weren't shooting, meaning anything but Sony, the menus were terrible. But so my point there is, it kind of went wacky here. My point there is that it's what you're used to. Okay. If somebody took away my Nikons, I don't want that to happen, but if somebody took away my Nikons and I had to shoot Sony or I had to shoot Canon, yes, at first I could say, well, these menus are terrible. Why? Because I don't know them. It's not familiar to me. The button placement isn't familiar to me. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means it's not familiar to me. And if you start with one, this stupid microphone. If you start with one and you get used to it, then obviously that becomes your favorite. And I do like the ergonomics of Nikon. I do like the color rendition. I like the lenses that some can be soft, but there's just something about the photo it takes. I'm not all about sharpness either. You won't see me harping on, well, you got to get it because it's the sharpest lens in the world. I don't really care. I'm not shooting commercial photography. I shoot and edit the way I want the picture to look. And if people want to nitpick it or say, well, I did blah, blah. Sometimes, I think they may be right. But if they complain about, well, the saturation I don't care. It's what I wanted. And well, what about your clients? Well, I don't have clients. And anybody that's seen my work and asked me to help them out and do some photos, they obviously know what the photos should look like in the end. So I'm not into the sharpness thing. I mean, I don't want it to be terrible. I don't care about the corners half the time because when I'm watching, I go to the theater to watch a movie. I'm not looking in the corner the whole movie. That's not sharp over there. What just happened? Oh, well, the corner's not sharp. I mean, where are we at in the photography world when that's the kind of stuff we do? And oh, by the way, if you zoom into 400%, you'll see that there's a little bit of noise. I don't care. All right. You guys tired of my rants? Sorry about that. Uh, 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 yeah, there you go. Absolutely. The biggest, thickest. Uh, Nikon F4 is one of the best, finest Nikon I ever owned. Uh, oh, yeah, man. I want to throw this out there again. Some of you people, I know you shoot. I know you enjoy photography. Obviously, you do. You wouldn't even be here. But again, throw something in an email if you want to be a participant, a live participant in these live streams. I mean, the more the merrier. The more we do this, the more we have fun, the more information we can share. And it's not just me up here yammering for an hour, hour and a half, or whatever. That's why nobody rewatches my live stream videos. They look at the time and think, how in the world? I don't have 2.5 hours to sit and watch this guy yap. So I think this is a different thing. Rather than the videos that we can all go find all over YouTube, this is a participation thing for some photographers. And maybe that's the way I need to look at it and let people know, participation. Get in your chat, talk about, throw your opine to your heart's content. Even rag if you're somebody that's ghosting, or you watch this later and you shoot Nikon, or not Nikon, but Canon or Sony, feel free to get in our chat with us. Yeah, we may kid around, but we're not going to take it personal, and we're not going to make it personal aimed at you. But that's the whole point of everybody having a different brand to shoot. So jump in and let's do it. Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. Is what everybody what you want. Yeah, make sure I didn't pass anything up. Yeah, but seriously, pass the word, let people know that we can get in here, we can chat. You can even rant if you want a little bit. I don't care. I do. But I don't, I want it to be fun. I want us to, really enjoy having the conversations, talking about the other brands, Nikon and everything else. And right now it's been unique with the announcement of the Z9, the launch of the Z9. So there is a lot to talk about. Now, it kind of died down over the last week. I mean, there have been some good videos come out. And oh, by the way, Matt Granger's videos, you know why you didn't see them early on? They didn't give him a camera before the announcement. Learned that on Vahography's interview with him. So he got it after the fact, but he had it for 10 days, he said, and he said he wore that camera out. So he's got lots of content to put together in videos, and a lot of it is based around some of the questions that he had received about the Z9. So my hat's off to Matt. And you know what? I think he is the same on camera as he is off camera. And that's always a good thing. So a little more respect for Matt. I followed him for a while he was a Nikon guy. And I don't know. I just kind of gravitated away from him. Still subscribe to him. But yeah, a little more respect now that I hear him. It's always good to know who the people are behind the scenes. It seems like you can put up with more, doesn't it? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It's like, well, if I know you're a decent person and you're just a wacko on, camera, yeah, I can live with a little of the wackiness. All right. Comfortable to chat. You know what? That's the perfect comment. I appreciate that. And I hope everybody that jumps in here feels the same way. So yeah, I think at least I saw that we had 11 folks in the chat or in the video for a while. So that's good. I mean, I can't believe I held anybody's attention longer than about 2 minutes. But yeah, I did have some ranting to do. Again, reading comments and forums and reading questions that people are posing to some of the videos. It's like, dude, man, It's called search bar, and it's not difficult. If you don't have time, I get that. I really do. And there are a lot of people that are very busy and don't have time. So don't have the luxury that I have of sitting here just going through looking for all this stuff about the Z9. But if it's because you don't want to put forth the effort, don't get mad when you don't find your answer, because not everybody has all the answers, but most of them are out here in the interwebs, YouTube, because a lot of people have had their hands on this camera. So a lot of people, and some good information. So we don't have to wonder about certain things. All right. Well, all the questions that I had have been answered by one person or another in a chat, or in a live stream, or in a video, or whatever. I was convinced I was getting the camera anyway. I convinced myself when I asked for a waiting list at my retailer. And based on that, and knowing that this camera was coming, I already knew I was going to get it because I sold my D5 in preparation for this camera, the Z9, which helped fund or put away money. And I've been saving since March, putting away, a few bucks here, a few bucks there, and put myself in a position to be able to buy it. So there was no doubt I was buying it as soon as it was going to be available. Sight unseen. Did it with the D800, did it with the D4, D810, D850, D500, D5. D5 too. Yeah. So everybody says, you're going to be a beta tester. Have been, love it, and will continue. What's your next question or comment? I'll be the beta tester. I don't care. If it's what I want, I'm going to get it. Unless there was something of high magnitude that came out. Oh, by the way, we didn't tell you this. The Z9, because of everything that it does, will only have a 5-minute battery life. That might have been a game changer. But, obviously that's ridiculous. But unless something crazy came out, I was convinced I was going to get the camera. So, and I just don't know when. And that's what everybody else wants to know. When. And I'm tired of all the, I won't be able to get it for a year. Well, you won't if you don't order it. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. If you don't pre-order now, you won't get it for a year. You'll have to wait until it's on the shelf at Best Buy. So anyway. All right, folks. I really enjoyed this. I've had a good time tonight. It continues to get better. I've got my plank holders in here. Terry, Mike, and Woody, you've been around too. Nican, yeah, and you guys are the plank holders in this place. And I really appreciate you dropping in. It humbles me that you guys would be entertained or want to come and sit and go through this, but I'm really happy about it. And we're going to have a lot more. I'm going to continue to do it. I've said that for a long time. I'm going to continue to do it, and we'll get some people to get in here, and we can do some back and forth and keep the RPM up and have a good time. Oh, all right. I have no patience. I don't either, really, Mike. I honestly don't. So I'm putting on a pretty good show here. But no, honestly, I can. I can wait. I may not be happy if, for whatever reason, the good old boy gang jumps in front of me and I miss the first shipment or the second shipment. But that's not going to change my mind as to whether I get it or not. So I'm really looking forward to the camera. An enthusiast, but on cameras from other brands besides Nikon, such as Leica, Hasselblad, Canon, Panasonic, and Olympus. So bashing other brands doesn't Come on, BFS. Come on, let's bash Leica for a minute. No, I understand. And if I bash a brand, it's not the brand I'm bashing. Usually it's some of the fanboys that I'm really bashing that just, they can definitely tie you in knots sometimes with some of the junk they say. But hey, I'm glad to know. And you're a good person to be in here, to kind of, when the lies come out about, well, the Olympus doesn't, it only handles ISO to 200. You can jump in with, no, 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 not so, not so. And that's always good to have. It's good to have a broad base of knowledge in a chat like this, to really be able to talk about, and compare. So that's great. And so you're an enthusiast, BFS. What do you need those cameras for? What do you need all those cameras for? You don't need them all. Can't you just shoot with one? You can only carry one. You see how I did there? That's what you get in the forums. If you only have two hands, you can only have two cameras. Really, only one, because you need the other hand to hold the camera and the lens. I get so angry at those people. It's like, I want to get into I wish I could get one of them in here in a live chat. I really do, because the minute they say, "Do you really need the Z9?" Well, I'll tell you what. I'll answer that in a minute. First of all, what do you drive? Do you really need that? Couldn't you get away with a Yugo? I mean, it's just carrying you back and forth to work. I want to know what all these people own that have decided that I don't need something. I don't need a camera. I think it'd be great. Terry, you shoot Olympus. All right. So many years. Good on you, buddy. Good on you. I mean, I never show anybody this room. You should see the stuff I have. You would think I'm running a commercial studio in here doing portrait. I've got auto poles that hold up my backdrops, and I've got three colors of paper up there right now. You would think that I'm running people through here like a commercial headshot place. Do I need it? Oh, here you go. Another thing. Anybody got a camera stand? I'm going to tell you what. I love it. I absolutely love it when I'm shooting in here. Man, do I need it? No, I've got a dozen tripods, but I want it. And I can afford it. I've worked hard. This is what I enjoy doing. So I get it. So I get it, Terry. And good on you. Good on you, brother. I'm happy for anybody that, gets the stuff they want. I understand you can't do this if you don't have, if you don't have the ability, so that it doesn't take away from your life. Don't ever do that with anything. Don't let a hobby take over your life and take away from your family and everything else. But if you can afford it, don't let anybody talk you out of what you want. Oh, it is a rabbit hole. You're absolutely right. I told my stepson that, especially for when he wanted me to start shooting some video for him. And man, that rabbit hole got deep. It's not just take the camera and hand hold it and do this. No. I mean, it's just one thing after another. Nobody adds up all the cost and time to get all the cables, whether it's XLR, HDMI, USB, you name it. You're right. But you know what? If you want it, do it. I'm not complaining about having to get all that stuff. I want it. I get it. I don't get everything I want. I'm not going to get the 600 4. I'm not going to get the 400 2.8 with TC in bed. I just that's a bridge too far for me. But I can still enjoy it with some other higher end pieces if I want, so there it is. And I got more stuff than I need. I hope somebody's watching this that is asking me that question. Do you really need it? No, but I got it. I got a camera stand. Woohoo. I wanted one. I got it. And I do enjoy it. I like it. All right. Nikon Daily. Oh, F3 HP. Woo. There's Briar. Where you been? You missed it. You missed the whole thing, man. I don't hear you were busy. Just kidding. Of course you may have been. Ah. Statement any photographer hates to hear while your camera takes great. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you know what? They're right. It does. I want to think maybe I helped it though. At least give me that much. Let's see. So met some new folks tonight. Really happy about that, Stephen. I don't know if you've been in here before or whatever, but and forgive me, my Joe Biden moment of forgetting things. I don't remember the name being in the chat before, but really happy you stopped by. Yeah, Briar, I know you were busy. Yeah, we went on a bit of a on and off rant tonight and had a good time. I mean, nothing terrible, but we had a good time. Tried to share a little bit of information that I'd gleaned from the internet and watching every video out there. I watched some Japanese videos and have no idea what they were saying, but I kept watching it, thinking, well, maybe they'll at least do something, and I learned something. No, not really. It wasn't quite as entertaining, not understanding. And the subtitles were not in English. So, okay, all right. Watched a German photographer, and he was talking about video. I know he was talking about video because everything he was doing was video, but couldn't understand a word he said. So yeah, I was trying to find everything I could just to see what else is out there and see what everybody else is doing with the camera. But so far, Matt Granger, fantastic job. Still has some more content to put into videos about the Z9. Has answered a bunch of questions. Of course, Rishi Talks, fantastic. Go watch Rishi Talk about the Z9 and videos about the lenses. If you haven't before, because he really does a real good job of showing what the lenses do well or don't do well. So, all right. Age has a funny way of letting you know you weren't quite the same as when you were 40. Oh, absolutely. Whew. Let's see, Briar. I was thinking about what I want to be able to tell someone who asked me how they 100 to 400 shoots. I want to say it's just like the 70 to 200, but it's 100 to 400. Yeah. Well, it's got pretty good reviews from those that have had a chance to play with it. And I was saying this earlier, Briar. Rishi says it's, I know you're not going to believe this, but he said it's comparable to, or compares very favorably to the 180 to 400. That's quite a compliment for it, because the 80 to 400 that I have, I don't think you'd compare it to a lot of lenses, although I'm happy with it. It did what I needed it to do because it was for action sports photography, namely motocross. And it worked well for me there. But the 1 to 400, I think, because all of the S line lenses, or all of the Z mount lenses, I shouldn't say S line, all of the Z mount lenses have been incredible. I mean, do you guys agree? I think they've been incredible. See the new Nikon digital tutor on the Android phone and FTP with Nikon Z9. Have not. Yes, the 400-2.8, absolutely. I mean, that's good news for us. That's real good news, especially for a tele zoom. Come on. I'm happy. I like a zoom lens. I love the primes. Don't get me wrong, but it's just out of my price league. And I do have a 400-2.8, but it's old. That I really do like. And I can't wait to get the Z9 and use the FTZ on that, because Rishi was saying that the adapted lenses so far, his opinion is there is no, well, obviously there's no degradation in photos or resolution, but he said even for autofocus, it's as fast as the lens was with a DSLR. He said the only thing that holds up the lens, and it may be because the Z9 is computing so much data so quickly, and the lens is only going to focus as fast as it would with any DSLR. The lens is the holdup on that pipeline of AF. So that's impressive. That's really good to know. So, you know what? How many people even know that? How many people, I can't afford, and that we don't have this glass and that glass. I mean, if there's no difference, then your F mount glass is a great placeholder until you get the native super tele lenses. So yeah, it's the same weight as the 70-200 without the collar. And something else. I saw this, and he mentioned it in another video. He's talking about the balance compensation in that lens. I just caught a little bit of it, but the lens actually compensates for the movement of the elements as it zooms or you zoom or it focuses. And the balance point on the lens never changes. Now, I don't know why that's important, but I want to believe that's really important. And yeah, this may be possible mounted on my Ronin S. I have mounted the D5 on there with a 24-70 2.8, and it worked. Difficult. But I haven't mounted a heavy tele lens on there, but I may have to try it. Anyway, just thinking out loud there. I often do that. Yes, it will. The 402 2.8 with TC, built-in TC, should be phenomenal. And I expect it will be, based on everything for the Z mount already is phenomenal, I think. Bro, you got lots of the 1.8 primes. Yeah. They are. They're, excuse me, light as a feather. Yeah, and the photos are fantastic. But remember, way back when, going back to Fro, not to hate on him here, but I remember him saying they're cheap because they were light and they weren't all dolled up with markings and things like that. So, I mean, and it turned people off. Why do they do that? All right. You only buy glass you need, not what you want. All right. You're going to play the game here. Front element goes forward and the other elements go backward to keep it balanced. Yeah, that's that. I'd never heard that before. About any lens, that's pretty cool. Especially if you're on a gimbal. Yeah, because putting it on the Wimberley gimbal head, yeah, that would be great because I may not have to rebalance it, changing focal length. Pretty cool. BFS, not you, but others, being a Nikonian for over 4 decades. Yeah, I can't lay claim to 4 decades of Nikon love. I actually loved photography when I was a kid. My grandmother was the great keeper of the, photos and everything else. She had a camera, a little Instamatic 110. Remember those? And she shot a lot of stuff, family stuff. So I was interested in it, but never played with it, did anything with it. Joined the Army, and while I was in the Army, I actually went to a photo course. It was part of what we had to do. And it was everything, not just uh, shooting, uh, but also developing film in the field and being able to then later make prints from the film that we had developed, the negatives. And I was just totally fascinated by the whole process. And then I was hooked. But then I was in the military and had a family, young, couldn't afford to really pursue it. But I did, though, have an old uh, 35 millimeter Instamatic, and I shot a roll of black and white film and developed it in my garage, and then built an enlarger out of a old Brownie camera and an old drill press, and actually made prints from that black and white film. A lot of fun, really enjoyable. Haven't done it since then, but it was really enjoyable. Uh, uh, Inner components are not up to the same quality as the OEM lenses. What was that? Center of gravity won't change, on a gimbal, and that's great. Love that. Love that. New 120 to 300 f2.8 is good, but Sigma has had that lens for the last 10 years. Well, that's one of the things I think Nikon has tried not to do, is go into the more exotic lenses to get most of the common lenses out first. And I'm really happy that they went the f4 route for the initial lenses, the 24 to 70 f4. Great lens if you don't need the extra stop. The 14 to 30, which I'm using right now, I think it's a great lens. And the what else did I pick up right off the bat? No, I guess it was the 51.8 prime, which I'm really happy about. It's a fantastic lens. So those are great lenses. Cheap, reasonable. And everybody was talking about the price the lenses too high. Come on, man. Did you look at Canon over there for their initial lenses? And Nikon priced theirs too high? I think it was a better entry for people into Nikon mirrorless than going all out with the exotic lenses. Not that people didn't want them, and now we've got them. We've got the Trinity 2.8 Trinity, so everybody's happy. Thank you, Briar. Yeah, yep, did serve. And it's not cliche. You know who means it and who doesn't, who it is just something they feel obligated to do. But thank you very much. Let's see. I agree, Nikon. Terry, as far as Sigma goes, I think the 1.450, let's see, what is it? Yeah, 50 millimeter 1.4 art lens, I thought was a good lens. It is very contrasty. It's not a lens that I shot very much for color, but I'll tell you what, I really did like shooting that lens when I was shooting black and white. I don't know why, but it really renders black and white well. For the most part, I stick to OEM lenses too, Terry. I really do. And I know that there are some good third-party lenses out there. I also have the the Sigma 35 millimeter 1.4 art. And, that lens is giving me trouble. I just quit using it because the autofocus on it would chatter. And I know it was well after I could return it. I know that I could get the little, the base to update firmware and whatnot, and maybe it would help, but I just put it on the shelf. It just sits back there collecting dust. I wasn't a real 35 millimeter fan. Still not. 120 to 300 2.8 perfect football lens. Yeah. The 180 to 400. Yeah. You and me both, Mike. But maybe that 100 to 400 is really going to rock. I think it will. Ricky seems to like it. Rishi. Broken in 24 1.4 is really good for astrophotography. I have it. I also have the 12 millimeter for astrophotography. And for what I do for astrophotography, it works fine. But I know a lot of people don't like it for many different reasons. All right. All right. All right. Hey, guys, I think I'm going to get out of here. What time is it? Yeah, it's 9 o'clock my time. Some of you are ready to eat breakfast. Some just finished supper. For me, yeah, 9:05. So thank you all. Thank you all for joining. And I'm sincere. Thank you all for joining. I enjoyed it. And I hope you did too. And, I'm going to try to keep it going. I have a life behind the computer and searching videos and everything else. Obviously, everybody does. It's not quite as busy as it was before, but there's always a possibility something comes up and I can't make a certain night or whatever. So that said, I'll always throw out a reminder, either late morning or early afternoon, that I'm going to run a live stream that night. And hopefully you guys are getting that notification so you'll know. And I'm really happy if you can make it and we can continue our chatting. Try to find some more subjects as things come up right now with the Z9, because that's really the focal point. But, it can be about anything. Yeah. We have gone off track a few times on the live stream. So anyway, thanks again. I don't know if I'll do another one tomorrow night, but if I do, again, if you can make it, make it. If you can't, if you're bored, jump on in. If you're not and you have something more exciting to do, by all means, do that. Again, for those that may be ghosting, maybe in here ghosting, there's an email address on the screen right now. That is the email that I check most often. If you would like to be a live participant in the live stream, I'd love to have you. And I think we can have a lot more fun that way as well. So that said, thank you very much. And hope to see all you guys on the next live stream. God bless you guys. Really enjoyed it. See you on the next one.